It turns out Juno went out of business because of a partnership with Lyft.
Xbox, Twitter, Uber,
Postmates,
Netflix, MoviePass,
Google,
Facebook, eBay,
DoorDash,
Apple, Amazon, Airbnb,
The Apptrepreneur. Hey everyone, this is Kevin, the Apptrepreneur, and if this is your first time to the channel and you happen to like this video, please do me a solid, consider subscribing to the channel and ringing that bell for notifications of new videos we upload on a near daily basis, but we also do live streams and stuff like that, so you'll want to be notified of those things. So let's follow up on a story I did yesterday about Juno, which, by the way, I just want to point out, Dustin, I think I beat you to that one. Because you see, me and Dustin secretly hate one another. It finally came out on the podcast Sunday, not podcast, live stream. Yeah, that we hate one another, and we, are going to be doing stupid rivalry things on YouTube or something like that. But anyway, bottom line, I beat you. We're just having fun, folks, obviously. So anyway, let's actually elaborate, because when I broke the story, so to speak. Thank you to everyone who sent me the screenshots, by the way. We didn't exactly know why they shut down. I think we just assumed that it was because they had run out of money and they couldn't compete. Some people assumed it was because that New York was doing their own version of AB5, and hey, that's possible. But we have new reason to believe that, hey, it wasn't even any of those things. They shut down because their parent company, Gett, signed a strategic partnership with Lyft. So here's what TechCrunch says about this. Gett, the ride-sharing company backed by Volkswagen and valued at around $1.5 billion, is putting the brakes on a major part of its growth strategy. Today, the company announced that it is closing operations in New York, which run under the Juno brand, effective today. The company has a substantial business serving enterprise customers globally, with some 15,000 companies overall, many with people in the U.S. So alongside this news, it's also entered into a strategic partnership with Lyft to take on those accounts starting next year. Notably, that 15,000 figure is down from the 20,000 number that Gett shared with me earlier this year when it raised $200 million and talked about going public by Q1 of 2020. Yeah, well, they're probably paying attention to Uber and Lyft stock and realizing, maybe even particularly WeWork, where they're like, yeah, not working out so well, is it? So anyway, that is not detailed in today's press release, however, which focuses instead on the reasons for the closure, specifically citing rationalization and blaming the enactment of misguided regulations in New York City early this year. You know what? I'm getting tired of these companies basically not taking responsibility for paying drivers poorly and for violating the law in the spirit of it. You know what? Had you been treating your drivers fairly, had you been playing by the rules, the government regulation would not be needed. I mean, and they've been raising these concerns for a long time. I shared this before, I'm going to share it again. Years ago, I lived through this. I remember watching these hearings on TV when the video game industry was under attack because their video games were getting more and more violent, and the government, one of the governors said, if there's one thing to take away from this meeting, know this. If you don't do something about this, we will. And you know what resulted in that? 1 second. The ESRB. That's what resulted out of it. They decided, we're going to self-regulate ourselves rather than be regulated by the government. Rideshare, the gig economy, they could have done this all this time. They could have been doing this for years before any government regulation was necessary. You know what happened with the video game industry? The government looked at that and said, hey, this is a good idea. Thank you for your prompt action. We consider the matter closed. That's what they could have done, and I'm getting tired of all of them acting like this is not a thing. But anyway, so this development reinforces Gett's strategy to build a profitable company focused on the corporate transportation sector, a market worth $1 trillion each year, said Gett CEO Dave Weiser. Gett CEO, I don't know why they wrote that twice, in a statement. We asked Weiser if he can provide more guidance on IPO plans, and he noted to me earlier that the company still expects to be operationally profitable by December and that an IPO is still on the horizon, although without a specific date in mind. Well, if you're going to be profitable in December, I'm sure Uber and Lyft, well, maybe particularly Lyft, they might want some notes because it's like, really? You're profitable already? Well, God, let's do a text and Texan accent. Well, gosh darn there, little buckaroo. What on earth did you do that made you so profitable so soon? That's what's gonna happen. I don't believe it, by the way. I believe they're gonna be losing money still. Let's see here. We are focused on reaching operational profitability globally already next month in December. Being a leader in the corporate ground transportation, profitable and global, makes our plans for IPO realistic. You know, so anyway, what deal did they make with Lyft? Let's look. It's kind of murky, to be honest. We are also asking Gett for more specifics on the strategic aspect of this deal and whether Lyft is giving Gett shares in its company or indeed vice versa. Gett notes that Juno drivers will be paid in full by Juno for all rides completed by Juno services end date, but they won't get any stock options because those have already been cashed out to much less value than anyone had anticipated. All Juno riders will be invited to join Lyft. Now, my question about that is, what if they had already been deactivated from Lyft? Do they get a second chance? Like, what happens? Like, what if... Yeah. It's a two-party state again. The Lyft partnership, Gett said, will mean that when its corporate customers come to the United States, they can continue to use their Gett apps to order Lyft cars. As Gett had never managed to expand beyond New York City, this will give the company overall a larger footprint while also drastically cutting the margins that it will be able to make per ride. So I don't know why they never, I don't know. Well, they focus on specific markets to cut down on costs, but maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do. So here's what's interesting about this for me. Because you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of this article that I actually read a little while ago, and, well, there we go. And I didn't comment on it because it was an opinion piece, but it does make me wonder. This headline says, Uber needs to buy Lyft to survive. And here's the bullet points. We don't have to actually read this article. Uber is still losing money at an alarming rate. The problem is that to turn a profit, Uber needs to stop cutting prices to win customers from competitors like Lyft. So the solution for Uber is simple. Buy Lyft. After an acquisition of Lyft, Uber can leverage its new scale to profitability. Ibrahim Al-Husseini, I don't know if I said that correctly, I'm sorry if I didn't, is the founder and CEO of Full Cycle, an investment firm focused on addressing the climate crisis, which makes me wonder why on earth they're commenting on companies that are contributing very poorly to our current climate crisis, but, you know, whatever. So, I don't know. So here's the thing. This is an opinion piece that we're not going to list, but I've heard this argument before that the only way for rideshare to really be profitable is for one of the companies to buy the other out or maybe even to merge. By the way, that seems to be what's been going on here. Gett realizes that they can't be option number 3, so what do? Well, they make partners with Lyft. In fact, some people got emails basically offering them like a Lyft credit for when they transition over. These are for drivers, by the way, not riders, so it's like add more insult to injury. But yeah, the way rideshare is going, it needs to be like one company to truly be able to compete in the way that they want. But the problem is, when there's only one company, that's a monopoly, and nobody wins. The customers don't win, and the drivers don't win. You know what's going to happen when there's only one company at this point in time? The prices will definitely go up for riders, but the drivers are not going to be seeing any of that. In fact, I think the upfront pricing pretty much confirms that, you know, Uber will be pocketing maybe 70-80% of the rides, Uber and Lyft. So the only way for the companies to survive is if there's one company, if there's a monopoly, but that's not a good thing. We all saw what happened when the taxi industry became a monopoly. It kind of brings me back to the days of when Juno was supposed to be the ethical Uber, then it sold out and died. So, yeah. By the way, this is what the website looks like now. We are saying goodbye. So, here's the thing. This is a far cry from the company that was supposed to be the anti-Uber that prided itself on treating drivers better. At one point, Juno's founder was promising things then unheard of in the ride-hailing industry. Higher pay rates and lower company commission. A dedicated 24/7 call center servicing them, equity for drivers, and eventually giving them the option to be considered employees of the company. Within 1 year of its entrance to New York City, Juno was bought by Gett for $200 million and began nickel and diming its drivers. Its stock program was immediately terminated. The company has also fought against attempts to provide a minimum wage for drivers, raising concerns that higher pay would destroy competition. Yeah. Early this year, despite raising 30 million investor funding and despite Gett's own valuation of 1.5 billion, Juno was seeking a buyer. It turns out that Juno was right. There was never any hope of competing with Uber or Lyft because those companies simply have more money. Uber's business strategy is to literally burn piles of money until competitors are driven into the ground. Juno had 30 million in investor funding, but Uber has lost nearly 30 billion. 20 billion investor funding leading up to its IPO, another 5.2 billion the following fiscal quarter, and then 1.2 billion this last fiscal quarter. Yeah, that is the cost of competing with Uber, by the way. So, and you can't, and here's an interesting thing. You can't make Uber's business model ethical because it's premised on spending tens of billions in venture capital to eventually achieve a monopoly, cut labor costs, wages, healthcare, etc., and jack up customer fares. Yep, there you go. That is exactly what it is all about. So I am very disappointed that it went out of business. I am sorry to see this happen. It was inevitable, though, unfortunately. The fact they partnered with Lyft is interesting, though, because I see Lyft gaining more and more partners while their stock actually has had some uptick. Uber stock has suffered far worse, and many experts, if you will, agree that Lyft is a better buy, although the fact that any expert is recommending you invest in either company, despite how shaky the economics are for both of them, is frankly appalling. So, that's the more story we have. I'm sorry that this never worked out for people. I was personally excited. I was hoping that Juno would come to California. By the way, I just noticed there's a little green heart in the light. It's like, yeah, bite me. Like, that's like adding insult to injury somehow. But anyway, so that's where we're going to leave this here. What do you folks think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you saddened by this? Are you surprised? I kind of got an idea of where you guys stood yesterday, but does this whole information deal with Lyft, does that change your mind on any of this? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly and get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. Also, if gas prices are getting just a little down, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, but you get cash back on every gas purchase. If you want more content from me, check out my other channels, Kevin T. Rodriguez, the Apptrepreneur vlogs, and Autograph Hound. And finally, if you want to talk to me or other fellow rideshare drivers out there, check us out at the Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook. And as always, blame responsibly. Have a good one.